Hello, hello. Today in math, we are going to be talking about addition, and we're going to be using something called a hopper, which is just a number line that helps us do some mental math. So in your notebook for today, there's some vocabulary words that you need to make sure you have down. One of them is the word sum, which just means an answer to an addition problem. Okay, one of them is an equation. An equation is just a fancy math word for a number sentence that has an equal sign. So if I wrote something like this, 2 plus 3 equals 5. There you have it. That's an equation. Okay, so a number sentence with an equal sign is an equation. Okay, the other thing that I want to make sure that you know about is this word called an addend. So an addend looks like this. Addend. Okay, another fancy math word that just means that's the numbers you're adding. So if I had that number again, that number equation, or that equation again, looks like this, right? 2 plus 3 equals 5. The 2 and the 3 are addends. They're both addends, the things that you're adding. And the 5 is the answer, which is called the sum. Okay, so this whole thing is an equation. These are addends, and that's the sum. Okay, so make sure that you get those down in your math notebook today. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be adding today using a number line. Okay, and we're going to hop along the number line to get to our answer. So we're going to start off with one that looks like this. Let's say that I've got a number line, and it starts at 45, okay, and it hops and it ends over here at 100. Okay, this is going to be the ending point, okay? So if I start here, I want to know how many places could I hop to get to 100. So I'm going to be adding 45 to something to equal 100. So first thing I want to do is make it easy for it to do in my head. So I know that if I have numbers that end in zeros, that makes it so much easier. So if I want 45 to end in a 0, I can just do this. I can just add 5 to it. And that gets me to 50, right? Because 45 plus 5 is 50. And then I can think about, what do I know about numbers? I know that 50 plus 50 is 100, so I could just add another 50 right here, right? So now I've got a hop of 5 to get to 50 and another hop of 50 to get to 100. So I could write an equation that looks like this. I could have an addend of 45 plus my hop for a second addend of 5 and 50, which is 55, and it equals my total, which is my sum, of 100. So 45 plus 55 equals 100. Here's where I started, this is what I hopped, and this is what I ended at. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say that I started off at 256 on this number line, and it ends at 1,000. And I want to know, what could I hop to get to 1,000? So remember, it makes it easy for myself if I can end in a 0. So if I have 256 and I wanted to end in a 0, what could I do? I could just add 4. Because if I add 4 to that, I know that's going to make this up to 260. Okay, now, if I got to the next hundreds, how could I do that? If I had 60, what could I do to get to the next hundreds, which would make it at 300? Well, I know that 6 plus 4 equals 10, so 60 plus 40 equals 100. So this right here is going to be plus 40. Okay, now I'm at 300. What would I need to add to get to 100? Okay, I could do it in a big hop like this. I could say 300 plus what equals 1,000. I could go 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. So I just counted 700s. I could put 700. I could do it that way, right? And that would work. I could also do it if I don't know exactly how to count up to that. I could do it in smaller hops. I could do it like this. I could go, well, there's 100. So that would put me at 400 plus another hop to get to 500 plus another hop to get to 600. I'm going to have to make my hop smaller. Plus another hop there to get to 700, plus another hop of 100 to get to 800. My hops got really skinny at there. 900, and then another hop to get to the 1,000 point. Okay, so I could do it that way. I could break it up. At any rate, no matter how you do it, you can always figure out how much you hopped. Okay, so let's, if I had to write an equation right here showing the sum, I'd start off at my starting point. That's the first addend, okay? The second addend is whatever I hopped. What did I add to that original spot? Well, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundreds, and then a 40, and then a 4. So I could write it as 7 hundreds, 44. And I know that it equals wherever I stopped, which is 1,000. So these are my addends, and that's my sum. So this right here represents this number line. This is my starting point, the first addend. The second addend is shown by whatever I hopped, and then my ending point is the sum or the answer, okay? So let's try another one. Let's say that I started off at, let's say 326, and I end at 635. Okay, so first thing I want to do is end in a 0 because it makes it easy for me. Okay, so I'm going to add 4 right away. Okay, and that gets me to 330. Okay, my goal is going to be to get to 635. So what could I do next? I could think about the ones, wanting it to be 35 to match that. I could totally do that, or I could think about the hundreds. It's up to you, whichever way you want to do it. Right now, I'm going to look at the hundreds. I'm going to go from a 300 to a 600. So I'm going to add 300. Because I know that 300 plus 300 equals 600. I didn't do anything to my tens place or my ones place, so this number right here is just going to be 630 because I only added to the hundreds place. So now if I end at 630, how would I go from 630 to 635? That's just 5 more. Okay, so I'm just hopping right along, okay? So if I write this as an equation, I would start off with my first addend, which is where I started on my number line, plus whatever I hopped. I hopped 300, and a 5 and a 4. So that's 309 because that's a total of 9, right? And so that equals my total of 635. So my addends and then my sum. And again, on my number line, the first one you start with is your addend. This is your second addend, all of this together, and where you end at is your sum. So that is using a number line for adding. So a number line hopper. Hope you have good luck with it. Another way that we can think about this is if we are given the two addends. So if we have something that looks like this, if we have 426 plus 337, and we want to find the sum. Okay, on my hopper, it can look like this. Okay, I know that this first addend is where I start at, right? So I start at 426, and I know my second addend is how far I have to hop. Okay, so I can break this number up, though. I can do the hundreds, the tens, the ones, whichever way I want to do it. Okay, maybe I'm just going to get rid of the ones right away. Okay, so I'm going to do all not the ones, the hundreds. If I'm going to do all 3 hundreds right at once. Okay, so there are 3 hundreds. I have 4 hundreds here, so if I'm going to add in or hop 3 hundreds, that's going to take this hundreds place and just increase it by 3. So that turns into a 7. The other places I didn't do anything to, so they stay the same. So I'm at 726. Okay, so now I'm going to move on. I could either do the tens or the ones, whichever way I want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do the tens place. So I have 3 tens. So if I'm going to add in 3 tens here, I'm at 2 right now. If I add 3 more, looks like this, plus 30, right? Because that's 3 tens. So I'm going to go to that tens place and increase it by 3. If I'm at 2, that would turn it into a 5, right? The hundreds place stays the same. The tens place goes to a 5, and the ones place stays the same because I haven't done anything with it yet. Okay, the only thing I have left to do now is to increase this by 7 ones. Okay, I can do it whatever way I want. If I'm really good with math, I could just do plus 7. I could also just do it individually. I could go like this. I could go plus 1, and I would have 757, plus 1, 758, plus 1, 759, plus 1, 760. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got 3 more to do. So I could do plus 1 to get to 761. I'm going to make my number line a little bit longer. Okay, plus 1, which would make it 762, plus 1, 763. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ones. And this is my ending spot of 763, which is my sum. So whenever we have the addends already given to us, we need to create the number line. So we start with that first addend and then do the hoppers in whichever configuration works for you. So you could do the hundreds first, the tens first, the ones. You could split the ones up. Like you could have done just 4 of the ones here to get this to make it be 430, and then done the rest of it and then added 3 at the end. Whichever way works best for you, whichever way your mind sees it is fine, but you can break it up as long as you're ending with the complete and total amount of the second addend having been hopped. You'll be set.